So thank you guys for being here. I'm Anne, I'm from Vietnam, and we're all here to learn about my country, my people, my language, my nationality, and my family. So what some American thinks of Vietnam is a really nice way to start off this conversation. When I first arrived at Cornell, I was unpacking my stuff in my dorm, was talking to these friends to get to know who they are. And one of them, who was an American girl, approached me and asked me, "How can you speak English so well?" So I responded to her, if you're not updated with the news, we have schools, so that's how I learned English. So it struck my mind that maybe a few Americans still think that Vietnam is a country newly out of the Vietnam War, which was way back in the 1970s. So how might other countries think about Vietnam? Maybe you learned about Vietnam from National Geographic Channel and popular war films like Platoon about our agriculture, natural resources, and cheap tourist destinations. But that's not all that there is. So that's why I'm here today to show my story and my experience with Vietnam. I grew up in the capital city in Hanoi, which is a very hustling and busy place for almost everyone. Unlike our grandparents and our parents, the young generation born after the 90s are blessed with adequate food, with peace, and we're very lucky to have educational opportunities. That is me participating in a singing competition, and someone wants to take my place, so she grabs the mic from me. So that was so frustrating. And my family, my father and my mom. I am very familiar with the cliche saying from my parents that I'm so lucky to grow up within this period with a lot of food. Back in the days, we didn't have rice to eat. So I also feel like there's a lot of pressure to do well in school, to compensate for my parents' and my grandparents' struggle and what the previous generations have endured. That means that the education system in Vietnam is very rigorous and demanding and also tough. In high school, students probably study about 12 subjects at a time. Many go to extra classes after hours, and academic competition is such a big thing. For example, this is an image of our English competition. I also had to participate in some of them, but these kind of stress also brings some success. OECD's program for international student assessment research actually reveals that Vietnam ranks 17th in the world for mathematics and science. But that doesn't mean that we don't have fun. We go out and we hang out like students too. Another cultural trait of us is traffic jam. We have traffic jam every rush hour because our main form of transportation is motorbikes. So if you say, I'm going to Uber back home in the US, it means that a car is going to pick you up. But in Vietnam, a motorcycle is going to pick you up individually. My best friends and I really enjoy riding the motorcycle. It's such like an essential part of growing up. We usually drive around the city, feeling the winds from the beaches blowing in our face, watching the sunset and just feeling like the main characters in the movies of our life in a coming-of-age tale. I also really love the sceneries of Vietnam. So this is Ha Long Bai in the north where I'm from. I really love Hoi An, which is the city of lanterns, and it just lights up so beautifully at night. And I also really love Vietnamese food, and coming to the US, it's sometimes a disappointment to see American recreation of Vietnamese food. So that is the Cornell bánh mì in Jenny Cafe. I love Jenny Cafe, but they use tofu, but the real one, we use pork, we use like a lot of sauce to make it much more interesting. And it's also cheaper. The Vietnamese version is $1, and Jenny's like $7.49. That's crazy. We also have a lot of pork skewers on the street, fresh spring rolls made from like really healthy ingredients. Vietnam snacks is one of the most healthy foods that you can get in the world. And this is egg coffee. During the war, a lot of Vietnamese people didn't have milk to put in the coffee, so we invented the egg coffee, which tastes really good and doesn't taste like raw eggs at all. And can someone help me pronounce this word? Do you guys know how to say it? Pho. Yeah, everyone say pho or like pho, but it's pho. Yes, you guys got it. Such great students. Yeah, it's pho. Like, it's pretty difficult to pronounce. And during Tet holiday, which is in February, the biggest holiday of our time, we would have like bánh chưng cake. This is my best friend's family wrapping this cake for me. And the most famous sauce is fish sauce, which is fermented sauce. And I actually made a documentary film about the process of how this works. And I screened it in San Francisco in 2018, which was so amazing. So if Vietnam was so amazing, why did I leave? I actually left my country in when I was 15 to study abroad in Japan. And the answer, I think, is that we have a lot of things that we want to resolve.
These problems not only exist in Vietnam, but also abroad. So going abroad might give me diverse perspectives and different solutions from other countries and bring them back to Vietnam.
For example, pollution. We are one of the most polluted countries in Southeast Asia. We also have a big issue with gender inequality. I grew up with a lot of body shaming and listening to people saying how my chances are so limited because I'm a girl. And there's also a problem of children's rights, human trafficking, national debt. I think 43% of our GDP is actually debt, and that is something that we always want to resolve. But I'm not alone in this journey of trying to change my country for the better. There are a lot of inspirational Vietnamese people that I look up to. So there's Mi Anh, a singer. I actually got to meet her 2 weeks ago in LA. She was performing at 88 Rising. And there's Miss Thao is the CEO of Vietjet, which is a growing company for airlines. And also Anh Viên is a really famous swimmer. She won 8 gold medals in SEA Games recently. There's all these amazing Vietnamese people changing the world. So that really leaves me the question of what can I do? I do like the craziest and the most random things ever. I do like MUN talks to talk about Vietnam. I teach young children in my country how to speak English because, again, it really opens up for you opportunities to study and learn abroad. And I just have a lot of fun with my friends back there and also fall in love, and not only with people in Vietnam, but also the country as a whole. And I just feel like Vietnam is how the young generation imagine it to be. It doesn't have to be the way that the Americans portray it or the Europeans portray it. I think that's the mentality that I want a lot of Vietnamese students to take on to. So thank you so much for listening to my story.